this is a very interesting area of discussion. On DMT and on psilocybin, and they are closely related, psilocybin being 4-phosphoryloxyN dimethyltryptamine, the phosphorylated form of DMT, though they do not degrade into one pathway in the body, it's a parallel pathway. DMT is NN dimethyltryptamine. These psychedelics particularly seem to impact the language-forming portion of the brain. And this produces truly bizarre states of mind, because it's the language-forming part of your brain that is explaining to you moment to moment what is going on. You know, now I am eating, now I am having sex, now I am flashing on DMT. And when that part of the brain gets foobarred, then you really do have a puzzlement on your hands, because the machinery of description itself has been caught up in the process. On DMT, these entities, these machine-like, diminutive, shape-shifting, faceted machine elf-type creatures that come bounding out of the state. They come bounding out of my stereo speakers if I have my eyes open. They are like, they're elfin embodiments of syntactical intent. Somehow syntax, which is normally the invisible architecture behind language, has moved into the foreground. And you can see it. I mean, it's doing calisthenics and acrobatics in front of you. It's crawling all over you. And what's happened is that your categories have been scrambled or something, and this thing which is normally supposed to be invisible and in the background and an abstraction has come forward and is doing handsprings right in front of you. And the thing makes linguistic objects. It sheds syntactical objectification so that it comes toward you. They come toward you, they divide, they merge, they're bounding, they're screaming, they're squeaking, and they hold out objects which they sing into existence or which they pull out of some other place. And these things are like jewels and lights, but also like consomme and old farts and yesterday and high speed. In other words, they are made of juxtapositions of qualities that are impossible in three-dimensional space. What they're like is, and in fact this is probably what they are, what they're like 3 and 4 and 5-dimensional puns. And you know how the pleasure of a pun lies in the fact that it's not that the meaning flickers from A to B, it's that it's simultaneously A and B, and when the pun is really funny, it's an A, B, C, D pun, and it's simultaneously all these things. Well, that quality, which in our experience can only occur to an acoustical output, or a glyph, which stands for an acoustical output, in other words, a printed pun. In the DMT world, objects can do this. Objects can simultaneously manifest more than one nature at once. And like a pun, the result is always funny. It's amusing. You cannot help but be delighted by this thing doing this thing. Well, so these syntactical animals or these linguistic elves are pulling this stuff out and gesturing with it, pushing it in your face, saying, look at this, and you are fascinated, pulled into it, because each one is, what? How can this be happening? It's not, we're not in the world anymore. We're not in the world. No artist, however gifted, could make one of these objects, because they have qualities extremely difficult to language qualities that no object in this world has. And so you're trying to wrap your mind and say, my God, what is it? Because in spite of the fact that it's just a little thing, you can tell by looking at it that its implications are earth-shaking. In other words, that if I could suddenly pull one of these things out of hyperspace and we would all look at it, we would all realize that that was the ball game right there. That somehow this proved it, was it, did it, ended it, started it, made it clear. How can this be? Well, I don't know. You had to be there, sort of. And then what lies behind this, or as you try to analyze the situation, you realize that that these objects that these things are making are made by utterances. That sound is how this trick is done. And meanwhile, these things are saying or beaming at you. The general vibe is, strangely enough, do not give way to astonishment. Do not abandon yourself to wonder. Get a grip. Try to get a grip and notice what we're doing. Pay attention. This is the mantra. Pay attention. Pay attention. Well, somebody once asked me, is it dangerous? And the answer is only if you fear death by astonishment. But death by astonishment is entirely possible. I'm not kidding. I mean, you are so fucking astonished that you've never felt your astonishment circuits get a workout like that before. I mean, what is astonishment in this world? It's like, this is a different form of astonishment. This is, So, and then the whole notion that's being pushed here is do this thing, do this activity, do as we do. And you can sort of feel your intentionality or your inner something or other reorganizing, and there's this like heat. It's quite akin to heartburn. I won't metaphysicize it, but heat in your stomach, and it just moves up, and then your mouth flies open, and this stuff comes out, which is a very highly articulated, syntactically controlled, non-English, non-European language behavior.